Hi guys, I hope you are well. So we'll continue with session 3. The title is Evaluate the Effects of Content, Language and Style on Readers or Viewers, which in response in specific text. So let's look at the title style, and let's just recap in terms of what style is and look at other slides. So style is the way in which something is written as opposed to the meaning of what is written. So in writing, however, they are two closely linked. Also, as the package for the meaning of text, style influences the reader's impression of information itself. So style includes diction and tone. Diction is more for a choice of words, which also refers to the emotive language, depending on whether that emotive language is literal or it's figurative. Also, the aim of also style identifies how ideas are embodied in language. In other words, the effect of how an author uses words and literally elements is important for understanding the meaning of a text. So style it's more of how you structure or use language, choice of words, and whether that is it has the denotative, the literal or the figurative meaning of the choice of words that you use. So moving on to slide 18. So what exactly does it mean to be politically correct? So, politically correct language, abbreviated as PC, is choosing and using words that focuses on empathy, fairness, and justice. So, being politically correct is based on the idea behind the belief that words shape our reality, and so the philosophy of language behind it gives the weight to the words. And the aim of being politically correct revolves around empathy, fairness, and justice. So let's look at to be politically correct, what you need to avoid when using male only terms, pronouns, or titles. Manpower is now human resource. So in this example, it's more of we should avoid using male only terms, like for example your chairperson. you know we know that in ancient time we often recognize a person who is a chairperson should be a chair would be regarded as male, and would the title would be a chairman. Since now we've got ladies in that positions, so we also have to be using the word, the diction, in a politically correct. There's also a chair lady who may occupy that position also. So those are just the elements in terms of male only terms. Stereotype woman. Also, we know that the doctor women now are doctors. As often we often categorize doctors as male perspectives, and when you have or whenever you go to see an appointment to set an appointment with the doctor, behind in our consciousness we know that we are going to meet a male perspective. And also we've got victimization suffers from alignment now has alignment, implication towards a sexual orientation partner to refer to the significant other, generalizations of ethnicity and the race. She is Asian. We need to be more specific when we describe in terms of how we generalize things. And also in terms of the victimizations, we know now that it's not often as often we know that in our society when we talk about victims based on GBV, I'll just make that example that often when that topic comes up, we know that the victims are women, so we're being stereotyped in such a way, and knowing that also men are being, are being victims also in terms of the GPV that is happening. So those are the things that in terms of being victimized, and also the generalizations in terms of ethnicity. How, what do they mean, or emphasizes in terms of we need to be more specific whenever we refer to people. Like for instance, you may you may refer me as a person who is Northern Sutu. So we need to be more specific. Like for instance, if I'm speaking Sutu, you should be more specific. Which Sutu are you referring to? Because of there are people who are from north who speak Sutu, and there are the ones that are from the south. So you need to be more specific. So those are in terms of what you need to avoid in terms of being politically correct. And moving on to slide 20, we've got the emotive language. So emotive language is the term used when certain word choices are made to evoke and emotional responses. So let's look at the uses of emotive language. So in spoken language, it could be used within speeches, spoken word performances, public addresses, debates, and even everyday conversations. And also, it is often used in creative or fictional writing to give the reader a dynamic and engaging experience. Um, Lastly, emotive language is common in novels, poetry, short stories, and plays. So let's look at the last slide, slide 21 of session 3, looking at the examples of emotive language. So, emotive language is designed to tell you the facts while influencing you to adopt the author's opinion. We've got non-emotive version. This is an example. Another person in a bar was injured by the man's class. So let's look at the emotive version of this example. So an innocent bystander suffered facial injuries when the thug launched his glass across the bar. So you can see the difference between a non-emotive version and emotive version of this example. Looking at another example, which is a non-emotive version, the government will reduce interest rate. So this example contains no emotive language, but once you include emotive language or change the structure of the sentence, let's look at the example. So the government will slash interest rate. So slash emphasizes, has an adjective which gives much more emotive into the sentence, similar to the example that was given in terms of an innocent bystander suffered facial injuries when the thug launched his glass across the bar. So this sentence contains emotive language. So these are just examples in terms of the emotive language, and that is included in session 3. So this is what you go through in terms of the answers being asked in your formative assessment. So we have covered the last session for this unit standard 119469. Also, I will also encourage you just to go through your learner guide, just to have extra information pertaining to evaluating the effects of content, language, and style on readers, viewers' response in specific text. So I'll just go through the formative questions. So we have covered so far in terms of the activities from 1 up until to 3. So we'll just continue further. I'll just go through activity 4. Activity 4, how would you encourage your friends and family to be more politically correct? You'll answer that for activity 4. So how would you encourage your friends and family to be more politically correct? Moving on to activity 5. Have you ever read an article from a magazine, for example, a newspaper, and did not think it was true? So, what was the article about and what made you arrive at this conclusion? So, you'll give us your perspective based on what you've read from a magazine or newspaper, and you feel that that article that you read from a magazine or newspaper was not true. So, and also what made you arrive to this conclusion? Moving on to activity 6. Now that you know what emotive language is, so you need to work together. You don't have to work in a group, you just have to work individually, and you need to answer these questions individually. So, number one, why do you think writers use style of writing to communicate? And number two, is it appropriate in all circumstances to use style in writing to communicate? And the third one is the use of emotive language positive, meaning is it literal, denotative, in a positive way, or negative, using emotive language, or both. So you'll have to answer number three based on the emotive language, whether is it positive or negative, whether in terms of how the choice of words, the emotive language choice of words, whether that is positive or negative. So that's it in terms of the questions, the activity for formative assessment. So please, guys, complete these activities. Then on Monday, we'll continue further by going through your summative assessment. So on Monday, we'll just have a pre-assessment meeting with regards to this unit standard.